Hi, this is Jim Janossy. I thought instead of trying to describe your second project, at least the first part of it, only in text, I would show you a little bit of it, and I'd also show you how to put illustrations like this into a Word document, which will be part of what you turn in for this assignment. Illuminated manuscripts are hand-copied books that have been illustrated in usually very colorful ways, very elaborate ways, as you see in these two examples. What we're going to be doing in this project is to visit a website, the Hill Museum and Manuscript Library. This is provided by St. John's University in Minnesota. The URL in the middle of this page is how you can get to a website at which you'll find thousands of illustrations of illuminated manuscripts. However, I've also made an alias for this, and it's here at the bottom of the screen. Now I'm going to get to that page right now myself, just to demonstrate how it's done. I just opened up my browser, and up here on the address line I'm going to put bit.ly/HMML. When you get to this page, you scroll down just a little bit. Search for illuminated capital letters. What I'd like for you to do is to take the first letter of your last name and enter it at this spot at the bottom of the screen. And let's suppose my name was John Smith, so I'd enter an S and then click this Go button. You get to a page that looks like this that has very small size illustrations of different illuminated manuscripts. Let's just take one for example purposes. Let me click on this one, a rather colorful picture, but we don't see the entire page. Notice at the right, this little illustration of the red line around here is showing you the portion of the page that you're seeing. But let's go over here to the upper left and click that minus sign. This zooms out. We can now see almost the entire page on the screen. Let's do it one more time, a little minus sign. Now we see the entire page illustrated. What I'd like you to do is to find 5 different examples from 5 different manuscripts, each of them purporting to be an illumination of the first letter of your last name. Now I say purporting to be because remember I entered this by indicating my last name started with S. What I'd like you to do when you find an illumination like this that you're going to take, go to it, put the cursor on it, and right mouse click, and then choose Save Picture As. Now what you're going to find is that every one of these images attempts to get saved with this name Get Image. So here would be a good idea to change this name by typing over this highlighted file name. Why don't we just make this S and then 1? That's the first illustration you've taken of the letter S. And notice this is going into My Pictures. It will probably do that automatically in your My Documents folder. Then go back, and you may have to click the back button on your browser a couple of times because we actually went forward into that a number of times to reduce the size of it. If there's nothing more on this page, go down and click the next page button, and let's take a look at this one, which looks rather interesting. Well, this is a full page illumination. It's a little bit dull from time, but you can see it really does have some very vivid colors. And once again, since we got to this from the S page, we could take this picture and use it as part of our project. And you repeat this process until you get 5 illuminations from 5 different sources. Let's take a look at this one. This one's really very colorful, and in fact it's rather rare as well because it actually has a color yellow. You'll find that yellow isn't represented very much in these illuminations. Reds and blues and greens seem to have been available colors, but the yellow is rather rare. Supposing you've gathered up your 5 illuminations, what are you going to do with them? Well, as you gather them up, it's really a very good idea for you to copy some of this information as to where it came from. What I'd like you to do is to create a 1-page document in which you insert these 5 illustrations that you've copied, and in association with each one it would be very nice to know where it came from. That is, especially the century and what it was that it came from, in this case a prayer book. Now how are you actually going to put these illustrations into a document? I think some of you may not be too aware of that, so let me point out what you're going to do. You're going to want to open up a Word document, and in this case I already had one prepared. This typing is just a bunch of dummy letters. It's very standard in the printing industry to use this Lorem Ipsum text that means nothing. It looks like Latin, but it doesn't have any meaning to it, and it's just a way to fill up space. So instead of typing "Mary had a little lamb" on this over and over again, I just put this in. You'll actually type in here the site that you visited and the origins and the period of time, that is the year that you copy from the website, for each one of these illustrations. Let me show you how you insert an illustration though. I've put the cursor where I want the picture to come in, more or less. I click on the Insert tab and I choose Picture. The way that you see this list of files come up, although it shows you what the pictures are, it's not especially handy a way to find the pictures we're looking for. So I'm going to suggest you go up here on this little symbol, Views, and click the little down arrow next to it, click on Details, and you'll see the names come up and not the pictures, that is folder names and file names. Then just go here where it says Date Modified and click on those words, and you can sort these into ascending and descending sequence of the date that they were created. Well, if you just recently took these picture copies, you're going to find that by manipulating the sort order of this, the Date Modified, you can get the most recent ones to come up. And so I have S1 and S2. Well, let me pull in S1. By double clicking on it, I can make that picture come in. Oh, but look at this. It's come in very, very large. Here's something you have to keep in mind. You can shrink the size of this picture by grabbing it at the corner. You want to grab it at the corner and move diagonally. That way the ratio of the height and the width maintains the same proportions. You don't want to drag this thing like this and distort those proportions. Then you get a circus mirror effect where everybody looks fat or skinny. I'm going to undo that. Instead, I'm going to grab it by the corner and move diagonally and make it a rather small illustration. One more thing you're going to have to do is right mouse click on that image and go to Text Wrapping and choose Square. If you don't do this, you won't have the ability to move the picture around like I'm going to do now. By changing the text wrapping to square, Word will let you move the picture around. So notice what happens with the text. It flows around this. It might be better to put the picture on the left so that the text flows evenly around it, as I've done here. Let's insert another picture and see how that works. Let me put the cursor down here. Now I'm going to insert picture, and I'm going to bring in that second version of the letter S. Well, this comes in, but it's also rather large. So I'm going to grab in the corner and move it like this so I can make it smaller. But I have to remember to right mouse click on it, go to Text Wrapping, and choose Square. That way I can move it around anywhere that I want. And square means that the text will wrap around it in this way. So this is the way that you bring in pictures and you size them. What I'd like you to do is to complete this assignment by putting these 5 illustrations of the first letter of your last name in this form of illumination. 5 different sources. Choose the illuminations to be as colorful as possible and as varied as possible. And then the text that you include around it should just, having been copied from that website, tell us what kind of a book this was from and the year that it was created. These are all hand-drawn illuminations. It took people many, many months to create even just one page of a book like this. These books are very rare. These illustrations come from a library in Austria that permitted them to be photographed, and it really is quite a wonderful thing to be able to see these kinds of illuminations, which were common in the Middle Ages in books that carried scripture and prayers. There's a second part to Project 2. It's separate from this. It gives you some hands-on experience with the formation of pigments and colors that were used in some cases on these illuminations and in other cases on other types of painting. Have fun!